Hello guys, my name is Zukamis Kusana and welcome back to the channel. This is episode 3, which we're going to be deep diving into data profiling and data wrangling, utilizing Alteryx and Python. So for those of you who haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe to the channel so that it grows and so that I cover more content. And I hope you guys do enjoy these episodes. If there's any recommendations or there's anything that you'd like me to cover that I haven't covered yet, please do comment. I'm always willing to actually explore with other tools and technologies that you might be interested in. If I do not know it, I do assure you that I would actually go through it and understand and actually do make content about it. So guys, as I've mentioned today, we're going to be talking about data profiling and data wrangling. This is a follow-up episode on our episode 1, which was more focusing on data wrangling, which is the process where you actually go through cleaning your data, and episode 2, which was data profiling, which is the process where you actually try to understand your data, you look into it, and you try to see the gaps that are missing and see data types and all of that. And episode 2, we've covered more things, but I've just mentioned data profiling and data wrangling because the main focus of episode 3 is actually practical work going through data profiling and data wrangling using, as I've mentioned, Alteryx and Python. Do note that I could have possibly used Alteryx throughout the whole entire session, but I wanted to diversify what I'm doing so that you guys get exposure and see how different tools actually work, and not just like focus on one tool. Next time, I'll also do another practical session which I'll utilize different tools. For instance, when I go to data visualizations, I might actually decide to do like a Tableau practical session or a Power BI technical session. So you guys would let me know which one you actually prefer. Possibly I should ask that maybe in my LinkedIn network and here on YouTube as well. Which one do you guys prefer me to actually go through? So guys, let us start with the first part of our today's session, which is like data profiling with Alteryx. Thank you. So you can see the Analytics Cloud overview, library at the top, collections, data. So I have to like import data. So I'm currently view library at the top, collections, data. So I have to like import data. So I'm currently the page where I have to import data, and you can see there, as I've mentioned, 29 days left that I have on my account in Alteryx. So I have to import data, clicking on importing data, and I'm going to select my data. I already have the data saved on my local, and I upload the data. So let's just wait a bit whilst the data uploads. We can resume once the data is actually done. So yeah, our data is done. So we're gonna press continue now. So we're gonna press like using workflow because we want to use this data in the workflow. But let's first preview the data first. So to see what's inside, you can see the data is not perfect. There's some missing gaps. There's some empty columns there. Yeah, so let's close the data and just open the workflow so we can see what's going on. So the purpose of this is actually to go through the profiling, right? So we see all the issues. And I've mentioned a couple of times that Alteryx is like very easy to just see all the issues that you have with your data. It brings them out. I must mention that this data set is actually not too big. So you can actually use profiling and even in Excel, but for the purposes of this video, I want to illustrate the power of Alteryx a bit. So you can see all the options that are there. You can do your joins, your calculations. You can actually do data cleanups here, but I just want to show you the profiling part of it. So you can see there's a couple of options, cross tabs. There's just like many options. So for it's like similar options that you'd have in other like data wrangling tools that you'd have. So let's click on our data, and now let's just expand the section to see our data. You can see that those missing gaps are there, as I've said before. So now let's click on profiling. You see, like there's that button there, profiling. So it's easy. Now it tells you everything. So it gives you the graphs, counts of like individual items. And if there's duplicates, you can see that one is a standalone graph, which is like two, which means like there's two like items that have the same sort of like customer ID. So there's duplications. You can already see that. Alteryx makes you see it very easily. Yeah, so you can see like as just browsing through all of them, and we're gonna clean these up later on. We're gonna remove the duplications and all that. And going along to the next column, trying to see what's also missing there. It looks okay. Let's check the last name. Also looks like fine, but I think we might have like okay, we're gonna clean this up because I saw that there's like some slashes in the last name, and for numbers we see that we have NAs. We would have to possibly clean this up as well. Maybe just remove them. Sometimes you can replace it with zeros. Going back to last name, you see where it highlights orange. It's either like there's issues. You see trailing spaces there. So like that's the power of Alteryx. You just highlighting the orange spaces. If it's green, it means it's okay. But now we're pressing the oranges. It tells us what's wrong with that specific cell. Click the orange part, then it will tell us what's actually wrong. And we can click on orange yellow parts as well. So yellow, I think it's more like a warning because not that there's no data or it's wrong, but it's just like not the best case scenario of your data. So in those cases we might as well have to clean. You see there's no data. It's a now when I press there. It's also a now on do not contact. And we're gonna clean this up as well later on using Python. And not so useful column, I think we might have to delete it alongside with the other columns because it says not useful. So we don't really need to use that column, but we can keep it. And you can also like get some highlights sometimes within Alteryx um, to see like what's happening. Like let's say it gives you like advices, or do you want to filter out where it's closed or wherever. So yeah, I showed you the whole entire overall process of how you'd see the profiling. You see, it already tells you don't need to like struggle and go through everything. So it's like fairly simple. So now that we're actually done with the data profiling process, we're going to be moving over to data wrangling, and we are going to be utilizing Python for this whole entire process. As you can see, I've mentioned that we're going to be using Python. Our step one was data profiling using Alteryx. So with Python here, now we're going to be talking about cleaning this whole entire data, cleaning the spaces that are there, empty spaces, cleaning and removing those unwanted slashes and all those unwanted characters, removing columns and fixing the data formatted to the way that we want it to look like. Okay, so now let's move over and get our hands dirty with the power of Python and wrangling. Let's go through it, guys. Okay, so now let's actually start. I've opened up my Jupyter already, and I'm gonna import pandas. I need pandas for this. If you don't have it, you have to install pandas. I had already installed it for you, so import my pandas as PD, and I call my data frame, which is like PD, and I'll try to read my file. We've already seen the file. It's the one that I was actually using on Alteryx. It's the same. You could have done the process there if you wanted. So this is my file location, and I have to actually also put the name of my file. That's the file path that I do have. The file sits on my desktop currently. So let's now put the name of the file, which is customer call list x LSX, and let's call data frame. So let's run that. Okay, we're having an error. I think we need to install something. Let's just see. Okay, this issue. It happens a lot, guys. You just need to troubleshoot when you come across issues. So I think we need to install something. No, not that. So yeah, as mentioned, I've actually seen the issue. You need to install. It's open. You can see the open Pi Excel. So we need to install that. I have um my pip3 install. I have to say I use pip3. I think I have Python 3 installed, so I have to use pip3 install, and then I just copy my OpenPy Excel, and let's hope this will run. Yeah, perfect. It's actually running. Yeah, I think it's done without any issues. I don't think there's anything else I need to install, but let me copy and paste the airframe and try reading again. Let's execute. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Now we do have our data, guys. You can see that the data is still not cleaned. I was just profiling it on Alteryx. Now we're going to be just going through the whole entire process of cleaning this data. We still have those not available values, nan. We still have those empty spaces, unwanted characters. And we'll also remove some of the columns. Okay, the empty columns didn't come through in this one, which is good, but we probably would have to delete the other one. But just showing you like there's still nans, there's still those unwanted characters, nan, three dots there. We need to remove those. Nan as well on phone numbers, not available. Might have to clean that, addresses and all that. So just browsing through all of these for you guys. Okay, so now we are seeing our data. We've already seen it on Alteryx. Now it needs to get our hands dirty and start cleaning. So now we're going to be starting our process cleaning. So let's start with actually, I would say, let's start with the removing duplicates. So let's remove the duplicates that we have. We've already seen on Alteryx that we had duplicates. So okay, I'm gonna call data frame, and then I'll dot drop like duplicates, so drop underscore duplicates, and it should drop the duplicates. So now I have 19 lines. So I had 20 lines before. You can see that I have 19 currently. So I've dropped the duplicates, and in Alteryx you could have seen that I actually had duplicates in one of the columns, if you quite remember well. So I have 19 characters left, and we'll move on to cleaning the next thing. Right, now let's actually proceed into dropping a column. So we have that not useful column. So I want us to drop that column because we don't really, it says not useful. I don't think we're going to use it. So just also showing you how we can go about dropping the column. So df to drop, and then we open a brackets column, and then we have to specify the name of the column. So I think it's not useful column. I should have copied the name actually to make things a bit simpler. So not useful column. So if I run this, but I can just save it to my data frame first. So if I run this, like I should have that column not there. Let's call data frame and execute. So now we actually should just clean up like the spaces that we do not want and the characters we do not want in our column. So we just take last name, df last name. So you have to specify the column that you're working with. I had actually made a mistake before and just updated my data frame to just to have like the columns as you see above. It was just like that. So specifying df last name, and we dot string dot I'll strip. So I'll strip or strip to the left, R strips on the right. By default it strips like the blank spaces, right? Unless you specify what you want to strip. In this case, we'd actually specify what we would want to strip. So just putting in some nodes, stripping by default removes blank spaces from both sides. If you just say dot strip, then it strips both sides. Empty spaces, L strip removes from left. Right strip removes from the right side, right? That's how it actually works. And then let's now specify what we want to strip. So you see port there highlighted as those three dots, and we don't want those. We just want the name. So we're gonna strip that first. Let's call data frame as well, and let's see if it actually went away. So now let's go find Porter. You can see Porter now. The name is actually proper with those without those three dots there. So now let's continue um, to strip to strip other characters that we do not really want. Copying that, we have to just copy and then I'll paste it below, and then I just keep on editing this. We can just copy the line and paste it a couple of times to remove all the characters we do not want. Now we're going to be removing the forward slashes on our last name, and we're also going to be removing the underscores. So starting with the slash, and also we have to remove, but now we have to use R strip thing. So yes, we have to, because the underscore is actually on the right side, not like on the left side. So cool. Yeah, let's just copy and paste a couple of times. We can paste again, but we've already removed like the three dots, but just want to put everything in one place. Let's now actually so putting our stripping the underscore, as we see, it's on the right side. Putting the three dots, we've already stripped that, but I just have to put it again, and the forward slash is already there. So calling out data frame, want to see if it did remove those. Brilliant. We do not have the underscores. We do not have the. Okay, now let's move on and let's try to clean the phone number. I've been trying this actually, it gave me errors. That's why I see cutting. And I had to restart a couple of times. So let's just jump straight to DF, the phone number. Let's copy and paste. Okay, so we want to apply. So we want to actually make sure that we what's the right word? We want to make sure that we format the phone number in a way that we want. So we actually going to describe like how we want it to be formatted. So we're going to apply and we'll say we use lambda x and the first three numbers, and we plus and we add like a dash in between. So we're also going to add the next three numbers similarly and going forward. So let me just put in my comments so that I can reference my script later on. Moving on, we're gonna just keep on describing the rest of like the string. So have to add on like the next three numbers and then the dash. So that's like how we want it to be formatted. Correct. So we're done like formatting a string, and now we actually like, yeah, we need to make sure that the column is string, because currently it's mixed characters, um numbers and strings. So we have to enforce it to actually take in strings, right? And let's define the column again below that and just apply that. So sorry guys, it's just messy when working with this. It's not very much straightforward, hence I just removed a lot of errors that I made. You see now we have 20 rows again. I just had to like redefine my data frame, like running from scratch with all that, but I haven't removed duplicates in the session. But you've seen how to remove duplicates. That's the main point and the main purpose of like this whole entire thing, to show you how you'd actually go about removing these things. So okay, enough talking. So yeah, now like let's paste and phone number and actually apply lambda to be string. So apply lambda x string. So we must make sure that it's actually string, as I was mentioning before, so that we can do our manipulation properly. So let's now run this and see how it's going to be like. Getting an error. Okay, Python is very sensitive. It's complaining about indentation. So let's fix the indentation and rerun again. And let's see what's going to happen. Okay, cool. Ran successfully without any errors, as we can see. So now we're gonna just like make sure that we copy and paste like what we had before. So data for number and applying the logic that we wanted to apply the formatting. So you can see now the formatting is actually applied properly because I've already ran that. So it has the dashes, as you can see. It has the nan, which is not really nice, but it actually applied how we want to see our phone numbers. So now I'll just move on to the last illustration of how you can clean, possibly splitting the column address to 3 more columns. So now I want to create additional columns, splitting the address column. So I don't really want to update that column. So I've already defined the street address, date, and zip code. Split by comma. I have to actually use n is equals 2 because this is going to give me an issue. As you can see above, I've been trying it, guys. This is a messy session, but just to illustrate how really you go about doing these things. So just running that data frame, you'd see that I have 3 additional columns, which is street address, date, and zip code. The last column is there. So yeah, it's already too messy. Apologies. I just didn't want to keep show you all the messiness of this. That's why you'd find that it's actually cut a lot of times. So now I just want to move into the last part of this just to illustrate the last thing. For instance, you can see the playing customer and do not contact columns. It's yes, no, and y, and all that. So now I want to use one code. If it's yes, it must be y, or yes, not have two different things. If it's no, it's no, or and. So let's do that now, guys. Okay, cool. So let's start with our very first column. We're going to start with paying customer, and we will actually try to update this to use yes only, not have yes and y. So let's use replace. So string dot replace. Starting with and. Okay, no, I think we'd have to change this logic. I'm just not sure, but let's see. Because if you say let's replace n, so where it says no, it will replace the n with no, so that makes it wrong. So we have to replace the no with n. Then that makes a bit of logical sense. So, okay, let me just fix the formatting in that, and then let me just update that there. Yeah, so as I was trying to let me correct it. It's just a bit messy, so update no to n. Yeah, that's more correct. Yes to y. I've copied, I just need to copy the other conditions as well. So for the other column that we do have, I'll do the same thing because it's more or less the same thing. So do not contact, I'll also do the same that I was doing for the previous column. So you already see the entire pattern. Just cleaning up like the mess and trying to have usable data that I can report on, because if I try to report a no and it will recognize it as two different values. So I'd have 4 different values in total: yes, y, and no. So that's not good. Let's copy and paste and make sure we have the same condition for no. And then, yeah, let's just put a no, do a no, yeah. Just updating like my data frame, so I'll make sure that when I run it, it actually has all those values updated properly and saved. So doing the same thing for do not contact, also saving it, data frame, and also there probably might be like better ways to do this, guys. I'm not really an expert. If I clean to data, when I clean data, I would actually not go for Python. I would actually go for Alteryx and most cases, BI developers go for SSIS, or it depends on what you're using. So let's run this, call the data frame. And now you see we have like same things. We don't have no or yes, we have Y and N. We just have NN and all that. But I just probably would, let me replace the not applicables and then let's see how we can do this. But I can do that. I don't think let's try, but I don't think we'd have to use string. Let me just think for a second. Yeah, we have to replace with nothing. Yeah, we have to because we're updating the whole entire data frame. So let's run that and see. That looks proper. We might have to do the same thing for the nans and just replace it with nothing. And let's see if that would work properly. Just copy it like the previous execution statement that I'd had. So just saving into the data frame and saying data frame. Now let's do it for nan. And hopefully that would actually work. Not much of an expert in this thing. If you are an expert, comment down below and other more fun tools that we can actually utilize. Let's actually execute our data frame. And let's see. Oh yeah, we have to fill where it's nan because it's actually not an error. I think we have to fill because nan is not like a value that we're replacing. So we fill NA where it's nothing with blanks. So and that's perfect, guys. It actually worked. You can see now we have like blank spaces and all that. Yeah, that's it for today, guys. I'm just like putting my comments, but that's it for today. I do not have like anything else to show. I think I've showed you like a very deep dive with regards to wrangling your data. You can do other more advanced things, but I'm just showing you like the basics of it, just to give you a gist of what BI developers, data engineers would do. And mostly Python will be used by data scientists, but just had to be a bit of ambitious and do this one. So thank you. So now that you've seen the whole entire episode, data profiling, data wrangling, and what it really means, I hope now you have more knowledge and information with regards to what each and every of these two terms we covered today are about. Data profiling, the process where you're trying to understand your data. We've clearly seen that on Alteryx, which simplifies things for us. It makes things very easy. So we just like see it there, it's there. These are the missing gaps. These are the issues with our data. We see it. And then once we see that, we go to Python. We've used Python to actually go through the cleaning process of our data. I could have used any other tool, but I've used Alteryx and Python for this session. And as I've mentioned in my introduction, we're going to be using various tools throughout this whole entire series. So guys, you can recommend what tools you would like me to actually illustrate on. If you have any, it's gonna get more interesting from here, guys, I promise you. And please do subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Thank you so much. Bye bye.